In today's video, we're going to take a deep dive into Regulation F, which deals with specifically debt collectors who are harassing, oppressing, or abusing individuals that they're either sending letters in the mail or contacting by phone. I want to give you this information and understanding. There's two things. There's plenty of information that's out there, but people don't really truly understand how to use it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down some examples of what we've done for our clients here at the credit repair shop. And one of the comments that I get the most on my YouTube channel and TikTok, if you see me on TikTok, is that people don't really truly understand how to deal with debt collectors. They think that just sending a debt validation and finding some document online or going to ChatGPT and creating some document, that's going to be the end all be all, everything's going to be solved. And then when that debt collector responds back, they're like, oh my, what do I do next? What it usually comes down to, when I look at what people have done and with the experience that I have with what we've done that's been successful with the credit repair shop, is that people just don't know how to deal with debt collectors, and people either don't want to go through the experience of dealing with debt collectors. Like, they're just like, I don't want to even deal with this stuff. That's why debt collection has become a multi-billion-dollar business. And so my job, what I want to do is I want to share some effective ways, tried and true ways that have worked for my clients at the credit repair shop with dealing with debt collectors. So in this video, we're going to take a deep dive. I want you to follow me for a few minutes. Stick with me because we're going to get through this. And right now you're watching me on your cell phone or on your tablet or your desktop computer. That means that you have access to all of the information about dealing with debt collectors, but you just simply don't know how to arrange it, to put that puzzle together, to make it make sense, to actually get somewhere with dealing with these debt collectors that are out here buying billions of dollars worth of debt and trying to collect from people who in most instances don't even have to pay them a penny. So here's the deal. It doesn't matter what information I give you. It doesn't matter what information is out there on the internet. The bottom line for you is you don't want anyone messing with your money. You want to protect your money. You want to protect your assets. You want to protect your credit. You want to protect your lifestyle. And you don't want any surprise. As long as you can have that feeling and you can see that for your future, you probably are in a good place. But unfortunately, with what's going on right now, a lot of people are suffering from debt, and unfortunately, a lot of people have charged off accounts, and some of those accounts, the majority of them, have been sold to debt collectors. And my job, my mission, is to give you the ammunition to deal with debt collectors who have purchased your debt, because that takes it into a whole nother category. It's not about trying to run from our obligations. It's not trying to take money and not pay people. I don't believe that my audience is that type of, that you are that type of person. Just like I did in the past, you probably are running into financial trouble and you're trying to work your way through it. And just because you're going through financial trouble does not mean that a debt collector can call you, harass you, make threats, and do all types of things to you. Now, one thing, I want to make some stuff clear, because someone threatening you, you know what a threat is. You understand completely what a threat is on the level of an individual threatening you. But most people do not understand what the level of a threat means when it comes to how debt collectors are allowed to talk to you, because you may think that it's just normal speak. And I'm here to tell you, some stuff you would identify as threats. Other stuff you may not identify as a threat or abusive or oppressive, but it is. And that's what we're going to dive deep. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking that deep dive into the CFPB Regulation F, which deals with how debt collectors can communicate with anyone who they purchase debt from or that they're hired to call on or attempt to collect the debt. I want to make this video because I want to make it clear to you that they cannot just do or say anything that they want to do or say, and that there are rules in place. But just like I said earlier, people either don't know what to say or they don't say anything. They just want this to go away. But I think by giving you the ammunition and the examples, like what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you examples of harassment, and then what I want you to do is I want you to remember your experiences with debt collectors, or if you're potentially going through this with a debt collector right now, how they may be abusing your right and you could do something about it. You can actually get that debt to go away. So now let's go over some of the examples. I think that this will help you to clearly understand what the regulation is for. Now, excessive or repeated calls, calling multiple times a day or back to back with the intention to annoy or pressure the individual, calling early in the morning before 8 a.m. or late at night after 9 p.m. in the consumer's time zone. Your time zone is where it matters. Calling more than 7 times in 7 consecutive days about a specific debt. This is the call limit. You've probably seen my videos 7 and 7. This is exactly what it means, is they can only call you 1 time per day over 7 days. If they speak to you, they have to wait another 7 days and start the cycle over again. That's considered an engagement. That is actually written. If you want to see the specific code, go to CFPB 1006.14 B2. Threats of intimidation, threatening physical harm or legal action that is not actually intended or permitted. So anything that they any physical harm is 100% out of the door. But legal action, threatening legal action when they're not intended to take legal action, is a violation. And whenever I mention that, a lot of people will say, well, if I say they threaten legal action, and then how long should you wait before you have to, you could submit as a violation that they didn't intend to sue you. And then when you submit to for them that they're in violation for making that intent by saying that they're going to sue you to try to scare you, but they didn't sue you, then they're going to try to sue you. That all makes sense, but this is what you got to keep in mind. First of all, if they threaten to sue you, you should start the clock for about 30 days. This is what we've done. So if they don't sue you within 30 days, you can submit to them that they're in violation for making a threatening action to sue without taking action. If they sue you, that will be part of your response, because you got to respond to everything, and then you would actually throw that in as one of your defenses, that they're only suing you now to protect themselves from being in violation of the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. And again, obviously, they cannot have you arrested over a debt. Now, people probably thinking, well, Steve, I saw your video about people being arrested over debt. Those were people who were arrested that had judgments against them, and then they were called in for a debtor's examination, and they didn't show up, and they had a contempt of court for the debt. So even technically in that situation, they were not arrested because of owing the debt. They were arrested for being in contempt of court. But the bottom line is that they got arrested for having a judgment on the debt. But as basic for a debt collector who is attempting to collect the debt, they cannot threaten you with being arrested. Obscene, profane, and abusive language, using vulgar, disparaging, degrading, abusive language in calls, text, or letters. For example, calling someone a deadbeat or a loser is using profanity during the communication. So what you could do is you could look up all of the words that they use. If you're lucky to record it, listen to it, because what their job is to do is to get you, emotional, and you may not remember everything. But if they use words like deadbeat, why don't you pay your bills? You're not a man. I had a guy who was an Arab American. They said that it was against their religion to be owing the money. They tried to use his religion against him. All of that stuff is not legal to be done. As a matter of fact, with the individual that was getting sued, he wasn't even getting sued. They were just trying to collect on it. When they did that, we immediately wrote a letter to the company, and they ceased all collections on that debt. So keep in mind, any vulgar, degrading, or abusive language in calls, text, or letters that are sent to you, and examples of that is by calling your deadbeat or loser, or why don't you pay your bills. All of that is not above board professional talk, and that can be used against them to be in violation of the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. Another thing is public shaming or publishing debt information. Publishing your name on a bad debt list, posting your debt information on social media or public forums. This includes threatening to expose your debt to your family, neighbors, co-workers, unless it's a credit bureau, which is permitted. So if you're one of your family members or someone checking your credit, they can see it on there. If your employer is looking at your credit, they can see it on there. But they can't be the one who initiate that with your employer. Some of you may already have been received information from a debt collector who accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally sent it to your job. They cannot do that. False identity or deception, pretending to be a government official, a lawyer, or law enforcement to scare you into paying a debt, using calling from blocked caller IDs or misleading caller IDs. Now let me talk about from the lawyer. Let me tell you the reason why a lawyer will never be the one who will call you about a debt. The reason why is because they don't know if they're going to be the one that's going to be in charge of that debt. And when a lawyer calls you about the debt, they have to follow that process all the way through. They can't send it over to another attorney. Even within the same office, they cannot send it to another attorney without having something that's written that's going to take them away from that debt, because they are officers of the court and they are required to follow certain guidelines. That's why you'll have their office call, one of their representatives call, and then they might have someone who is like the attorney that is handling the case, but they don't want to get into any conversations about it unless they're willing to follow it all the way. The next one is contacting you at work after you've told them to stop. Continuing to call your workplace after you've asked them to stop. This is very touchy with this anyway, to call you at your job. But they try to get away with it by saying that they're just trying to contact you, that they've tried other numbers, and they're not allowed to disclose the reason why. But if they say, your boss or someone asks, well, who's calling? And they say, well, it's such and such from, a law office. Then, most people are going to either think that you're getting sued for something or you're in some sort of criminal trouble. People, you know how it is. No one skips to, the lawyer is calling you because you just won the lottery and they want to inform you that you just got this big win or this big inheritance. Someone died in your family and you have an inheritance. When they have legal officers call, most employers will just jump straight over to it's for garnishment and, looking at you and be like, well, what's going on? Next thing is that if they're refusing to honor a cease and desist communications when you've submitted that to their office. Now, this is a tricky one, because what they're going to do, they're going to have a right to communicate with you in writing. They're going to do that. If you say you want to cease and desist all communications in writing, all communications by phone and all other means, social media, text, all of that, if you put that in that letter, you could find, if they decided to go ahead and try to sue you, you could find that you're going to be sued and you didn't know anything about it because you have that cease and desist in place. The next thing that you're going to find out is when you get served that lawsuit. So be very careful. What I suggest people to do is just have them cease all phone communications, all text communications, and that they either submit communications by email or by regular snail mail, because you want to always understand and know where you're at with dealing with that debt collector. And also that gives you the opportunity of that back and forth in writing, where you don't have to, be on the phone and you're answering questions that may not be to your benefit. So I wanted to go over that quick list there, and I'm going to be making some more videos on some other stuff that you should be aware of when dealing with debt collectors. I can tell you right now that debt collectors are feeling, once again, very emboldened. There's going to be a whole new profit center for debt collectors after President Trump just reversed the rule that was actually with the CFPB, where debt collectors could not place medical debt on your credit reports. That will be coming back if you haven't already seen it right now. They're going to be placing medical information on your credit reports. We know how to get that information off your credit reports, not by any tricks or any gimmicks. There is a legal way to get that information off of your credit reports if it's dealing with medical, and the debt collector who put the information on your credit reports could potentially be in violation, and it could be a mechanism to wipe away that entire medical debt. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch video What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website the3scores.com to grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports and all 3 scores. If you have debt collectors coming after you early in the game, grab my 3-pack of letters, statute of limitations, debt validation, and cease and desist collection activities letter. If you're being sued by debt collectors, I want you to go to summonsmaster.com. You can upload a PDF copy of your summons and same day get a response to every allegation and a defense to potentially win your case, fully formatted. All you have to do is sign and date. Thank you for your time. Subscribe to the channel. Post your questions and comments. This is Stephen A. Williams, President and Founder of thecreditrepairshop.com.